Today, we're going to take a look at this old 2008 iMac. On the front, there's a webcam. Let's take a look at the back. I believe that the person I got this from acquired it from a school auction, so that's the reason it's so scratched up and has sticker residue stuff all over it. From left to right, there is a headphone jack, an audio input jack, 3 USB 2.0 connectors, a FireWire 400 port, a FireWire 800 port, an Ethernet port, and a mini DVI connector. The power button is also on the back. If you look behind the stand, there is a power connector and a Kensington lock for physically securing the whole thing. There's also a DVD drive, so that's pretty handy for media stuff. This is above the webcam. I believe it's a microphone, but I'm not 100% sure. One noteworthy thing about this iMac is that it is pretty hefty, coming in at around 20 pounds. It's a lot heavier than it looks. Here are the model and serial numbers that are on the bottom of the stand. There's also this handy graphic showing how to add more RAM through the bottom. But I won't be doing that in this video since I don't have any DDR2 SODIMM RAM on hand. It is cool that they explicitly show how to add more though. Here's where you can access the RAM after you unscrew that little screw. The power cable that comes with it is very Apple. It sits flush against the device. Looks kind of nice actually. I'm gonna plug in a mouse, keyboard, and a USB stick with some media files on it. Now, typically the computers I cover are already broken in some way, but this one booted up just fine. There's a login screen with an admin account that needs a password. I threw out a few guesses like password and password123, stuff like that. After the third attempt, it gave this hint that says brand. I typed in Apple with no caps or spaces or anything, and it worked just fine. So here is where I'm going to mention that I never really used Apple stuff in the past. I don't have any particular disdain for them or anything like that. I just didn't grow up with them or use them professionally or creatively. This version of the operating system is pretty dated though. You can tell by the amount of character that the icons have. This would be around the same time as Windows 8 was about to release in 2012. There's some basic applications like webcam picture software and text editors available. Here's a look at some of the technical specs of this thing. 2-core, 2.4 GHz Intel processor. You can also see the version here, Mac OS X Lion 10.7.5, which was released in 2011 from what I'm seeing online. It has a 250GB hard drive, which is definitely dated, and it has 2GB of RAM total, which is also super dated. Let's see if we can run some media files. Here's some sweet Skate 3 gameplay recordings I have. Yep, that's Skate 3 alright. You can also view images and tweak them a bit. And there's also chess.
Pawn d7 to d5.
The voice synthesizer is the best part. Unsurprisingly, the default music player is iTunes. It comes with all the regular bells and whistles that media players have. It definitely is one of the media players of all time. So let's try to bump this thing up a bit version-wise. I plugged it into my local network for internet access, but it's having some trouble updating. This handy graph on Wikipedia shows which versions of the OS are supported by which models of iMac. The most recent version I can use for this 2008 aluminum iMac seems to be 10.11 El Capitan. So let's take a look at that. In the App Store, which is used to download applications on pretty much like every Apple thing I think, there only seems to be learning software for that version available. I can't find a way to update it directly from the iMac. So instead, I used another computer and I went to Apple's website and was able to download a disk image file of the version I wanted. Then I stuck it on a USB stick and copied it to the desktop. After that, I ran the included package, which installs an installer for the 10.11 El Cap version we were looking for. And there it is. After agreeing to all the stuff, we begin installing it to the hard drive. The iMac restarts and pops up with this little progress bar. It took a few hours to actually update, but when it did, it gives us some setup options, and here we are. That's El Capitan alright, straight from 2011 to 2015. Unfortunately, this version is also unsupported now, so there's not a whole lot I can really do with it. Most App Store apps seem to only support newer versions of macOS. From the iMac Wikipedia article, it looks like this 2008 model can get bumped up to macOS version 13 with a processor upgrade, but with the newest macOS version 14 being released, I bet a large portion of useful apps will lose support sooner than later. There could be other options for this device though. I saw some people online posting about how they loaded Linux on it and other neat stuff like that. I already have a whole bunch of other computers and don't want to hassle with it. Even if I did load another OS on it, the specs are very low performance for as clunky as this 20-pound beast is. Basic web browsing and file editing might be all this thing can do at this point in time, in my case at least. But hey, at least I can also watch my Skate 3 videos. So yeah, that's about it. I realized that this video might have been boring since I couldn't really do anything with it, or at least I didn't, but I learned a bit more about iMacs and macOS as a whole, and hopefully you learned something too. So I will see you next time, and thanks for watching.